towards the next session, which is, so in this we are actually clubbing the two sessions, which are though different sessions, but we'll try to take them in one line. So in smart energy and sustainable environment for smart infrastructure, we will have a perspective from GIS and surveying also. So for this discussion on smart energy, sustainable environment for smart infrastructure, technologies like GIS and surveying for smart cities. For this discussion, I request panelists on stage, and I will start with Mr. Amol Sawant, who is business analyst for India Smart Grid Forum. A round of applause for Mr. Sawant, please. Mr. Jayajit Bhattacharya, government transformation expert and partner, KPMG. A round of applause for Mr. Bhattacharya, please. We have Mr. Naveen Sona, Director General of Vanamati, Government of Maharashtra. He will put up a perspective of GIS. Then we have Mr. Ritesh Arya, Director of Water and Geothermal Energy of International Sustainable Energy Organization. Please invite him with a round of applause. Do we have Mr. P.S. Acharya here with us? Okay. Sir, we welcome you on stage. Mr. P.S. Acharya, CEO of National Special Data Infrastructure, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. A round of applause for Mr. Acharya. And last but not the least, we have Mr. Ryan, Director Railway Stores, Ministry of Railways, Government of India, for a presentation, please. A round of applause, please.
My fellow speakers on the dais and delegates in the audience, since we are having the first session starting now in the evening session, so I would be touching upon the smart city and the initiatives taken by Ministry of Urban Development. So I hope you will find the presentation interesting. I'll be touching upon the urban development missions recently launched by Government of India, smart city concepts, smart forces, financing smart cities and way forward. Just to give you a little background about the trends in conceptualizing the cities, right from 1900 to 2010, how the city, the conceptualization of cities have taken place from industrial city to automobile city to service city and then finally to smart city. We have got different forms of smart cities across the world. So there are forms like virtual cities. We have the examples of Amsterdam as a smart city, knowledge-based cities, the broadband cities, mobile ambient cities, digital cities. So there are examples across the world on these forms of the smart cities. Friends, these three missions were launched by Honorable Prime Minister of India on 25th of June, consisting of smart cities, Amrit, and the housing for all urban. The total outlay allocated for all the three missions put together is to the tune of 5 lakh crores. And I'll be giving you further details. On the smart cities, the total outlay allocated is 1 lakh crores. For the Amrit, that is Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation, it is 2 lakh crore. 1 lakh crore comes from the Government of India and 1 lakh crore the matching share by the state governments. The housing for all urban, again 1 lakh crore comes from the central government and the 1 lakh is the matching share by the by the state governments. Just to give you brief about the smart city, what is the definition? A smart city is a dynamic ecosystem of citizens, authorities, companies and research centers that cooperate to develop products and services to foster innovation with the aim to develop an attractive, competitive and sustainable city. There are smart forces in order to have the smart city in place: smart economy, smart environment, smart governance, smart mobility, smart living and the smart people. On the smart economy, these are the factors you can see. The access to ICT in businesses, development of business spaces, internationalization of city, strategy, plan and financial promotion. So these factors once taken care of, that will result into the smart economy. Smart people, here we need to have the education, proper education for our citizens in the cities, e-learning, human capital and the R&D. On the smart governance front, three factors are very, very important: transparency, technology and the time saving. In all the three factors, we need to have the ICT, the process in place. On the smart mobility, obviously the urban transport comes in picture. So there the data connectivity, the Wi-Fi hotspots and the travel system. We already are having the metro system in most of the cities in the country, and further cities are picking up the metro system in place. Smart mobility, few examples from the Amsterdam smart city, where the cycling, the metro system and the road transport all are there and without any conflicts. Smart environment, here the use of technologies to protect and preserve our city's environment. So for that, security, surveillance cameras, monitoring of police operations, online publications, all these factors are important for the smart environment in the city. Here we need to have the system with respect to solid waste management in place, so that environment is properly protected. For the smart living, we need to have the e-health and the e-inclusions. E-health, electronic health, online medical services and the e-inclusion, that is the specific program and initiatives for the low-income group people in the cities. A few snapshots of the smart living. Need to preserve our environment with the green spaces. The skyline, here you can see if the different IT-based systems are placed in the city, that the city will have the best governance available, the transparency will be there in our dealings, the comfort of the public, safety of the public and cost saving due to the energy consumption. Just to give you a glimpse about the 100 smart cities which Honorable Prime Minister launched the scheme. So the different states would be having the cities, and the duration of this smart city mission would be for 5 years, 2015-16 to 2019-20. The overview is that the central assistance to be used only for the infrastructure development. The benchmarks to be achieved, including 10% of energy needs to be met from the renewable sources, 80% of the building construction to be green, and 35% of the housing in greenfield projects to be EWS. There will be SPB to implement the smart city plan with 50-50 equity. As I told, 50,000 crores comes from the central government and 50,000 would be matching share by the state government. Selection process is the 2 stages of the competition. In fact, Ministry has already started that process, and some of these states have already sent proposal to Ministry of UD. Because I was Director JNNURM Ministry of UD, so I still keep interest in the smart city initiatives taken by the Ministry. Then who have advantages, the better past record of these cities with the better services level. So the cities which have already put in place the urban development infrastructure with respect to supply of water, sanitation, solid waste management and the different reforms, I think those cities are going to get benefited more as compared to the other cities. The features of the smart city will be promoting mixed land use in the area-wise development, housing and inclusiveness, that is housing for all urban, creating walkable localities, preserving and developing open spaces, promoting a variety of transport options like cycling to metro to the bus system, promoting a variety of transport options, making governance citizen friendly and cost effective. Basically the the property tax coverage and collection through IT support system, giving an identity to the city, applying smart solutions to the infrastructure and the services. As this is all the process for the selection of the smart city. Financing, the mission will be operated as a centrally sponsored scheme. So GI, Government of India, has fixed the outlay of about 50,000 crores. The scheme is over 5 years, and the city on an average will get 100 crores per year, and with that in 5 years, a city, if performs better in terms of the expenditure of the funds given, then they can get 500 crores for developing the city. Then nearly 1 lakh crore is the GOI and ULB share, and the distribution of funds is 93% is the project cost, 5% is the administrative and office expensive, and 2% is the A&OE funds for the mission directorate of the Ministry of UD. Once the projects are sanctioned, and then the solutions would be in terms of e-governance for the citizens, waste management, water management, urban mobility, energy management. So the idea is that once the funds allocated by the cities, once the projects are sanctioned on the smart cities, proper utilization of funds takes place. With that, we are expecting to have sustainable mass transport system in the cities, use of ICT in urban planning, development of wind and solar energy to have the green initiatives, zero waste concept for municipalities, compact city development, and the green cities. So with these slides, thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing some facts and figures and some good information about smart city and its concepts. I now request Mr. P.S. Acharya, CEO of National Special Data Infrastructure, Department of Science and Technology in Government of India, to address, please.
Very good evening to all of you. It's a big pleasure and a big opportunity for me to place before you some of the activities that the National Special Data Infrastructure is pursuing, and what's the immediate future of the National Special Data Infrastructure I would like to touch upon. And the reality is, in fact, the kind of applications my predecessors spoke about are having a very important element at the heart of various topics he covered. In fact, urban mobility, space, location, in fact, at the core of all these, if we need to manage, there is a requirement of spatial data or geographical data, maps, basically data, but a very specific kind of data sets, I mean scientific contribution, that's the spatial data or geographical data. Well, having talked of that, if we are getting into smart city management or management of our businesses, management of rural areas, or our management of different developmental schemes, in fact we do everything on space, but we have a very big problem. We do not have access to data sets. In fact, inaccessibility to data is a very important problem. Even for this, I mean for Indian Railways, in fact the speaker is from Indian Railways. In case of Indian Railways, are we having the right kind of data properly spatially enabled? In fact, a very small application I would touch upon from the Indian Railways, thus the National Train Enquiry System. We need to query on the movement of trains. If you query on that particular information in the web, you will find a table coming up giving the train number or the train name and its scheduled arrival, scheduled departure, actual arrival and actual departure information shown in the form of a table. It's not possible to locate the train on the form of a map. That's the a problem. Why? Because the background information to show the location of the train is not accessible. It's available, lying somewhere in some office corridor, in some office almirah. Maybe there are maps available, or even digital data getting stored somewhere, but it's not accessible. That's the problem I'm trying to highlight. How do we make accessible spatial data? That's the problem. And second one is, even if data sets are available, one doesn't know where those data sets are lying and which agency is collecting what data. This is not only, I mean, maybe some advancements have taken place. We now know, or humans understand, but machines do not understand. We are talking of smartness, and in the absence of machines accessing geographical data, discovering geographical data, and using geographical data, we can't just become smart. That's a very important problem. And the third thing is non-availability. In fact, to a large extent, many data sets are not available. High resolution data sets. In fact, we are talking of very high resolution data to manage our cities. Delhi has been mapped in 1:2000 scale by Survey of India. But is that data adequate for our applications, for this kind of management requirement we are talking about? Not. It's not there. Thus, non-availability of data is a major problem. Another problem is standardization. If we are getting into web, making things accessible on mobile, we should standardize the data sets. We must standardize information. Machines must be able to access those data in a standard way, as standard service. There is service-oriented architecture now available, publish, find, bind model. But those have not been implemented so far, at least for accessing these data sets which are lying in different survey agencies, like Survey of India, like Geological Survey of India, Forest Survey of India, Central Water Commission, Census of India. In fact, to a certain extent, those are available or accessible even. There are web portals, but those are really far away from machine processing. In fact, that's very important for smart energy or smart city or smart environment, smart economy or whatever, for maintenance or management of all those. Thus, in order to overcome, in fact, in this way there are several more problems. Instead of getting into that, what has been done? Let me quickly briefly touch upon that. In fact, there are now portals coming up which are providing the services. Web map service. A computer or a human being can visualize or access the maps. Similarly, web feature service, that is for processing. We do not have adequate standards implemented for processing of those data sets, but we need structures, mechanisms to bring in these standards, develop these standards, use those standards, implement those standards, so that those could be put to use in these applications as we have been discussing in this important gathering. Thus, lack of standardization has to be addressed, and an interoperability between different systems have to be brought in. In fact, portals are now providing interoperable services. Systems can, as in case of a simple example of bank ATMs, the computers are interoperable, sharing information seamlessly. It should be possible to seamlessly access all kinds of information amongst computers. In fact, IT infrastructure is required for that. Thus, interoperability is an important requirement which is getting addressed and now available. You can go to now Sarvekshan portal, Bhuvan portal, like similar other portals where there are of course policy restrictions and restricting data up to certain resolution, but those are interoperable services which could be accessed by our machines. And there are other requirements like policies, data sharing policies. There are requirements of capacity building. Those are going on. That's where we are now. Now, where we are moving towards. In fact, these are all about data, but data is not adequate. We have to get into applications. Computers must be providing the required services, information services, the processed data services for use in decision support. Thus, that's the future. And I can go on speaking. Just I would like to highlight what are those components of national GIS being talked of at the highest level now for for support, financial support. Those are something like the data registry. Some of you might be already aware. We have to bring in semantic interoperability, the interoperability of meanings. Thus, we have to maintain the definitions. We have to maintain the standards getting used, because standards also change. Definitions vary across different organizations. Thus, we need to put registers accessible to computers for automated processing of applications. That's what is going to come out. And then a cloud platform for processing of these applications, or processing of these data sets for delivery of products to the end users. And then the databases. In fact, our databases need major upgradation if we get into this smart applications. Thus, we need high resolution data. We have to prepare and provide in a processable form, like through feature service. Thus, that's a major requirement which is going to be addressed. Then the applications, in fact, the tools required to be developed so that these data sets could be well integrated with the workflows of different agencies concerned with the management of these concepts like smart cities, smart economy, smart energy, and so on. And finally, there should be a proper policy, because some of the policies are not very supportive of these elements. And we need to bring in policies for geospatial governance, geospatial data provision, sharing, and so on. Thus, with these words, I conclude. We can respond to questions if necessary at a later time. And I would like to again express my thankfulness and gratefulness to the organizers for inviting me to this occasion. And thank you very much for your patient hearing. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, I would request Mr. Ritesh Arya, Director of Water and Geothermal Energy of International Sustainable Energy Organization, for address, sir, please.
Good evening. Perspective of water, all the civilizations of the past flourished on the banks of river. Now you see Indus Valley civilizations, Mesopotamian, all these civilizations flourished on the banks of rivers. But floods happened and these civilizations were destroyed. Villages and forts were constructed on the mountain tops then. Then again, today these were deserted looks. Then came, in these civilizations in the past, we see transportation of water was minimum. Energy required to transport them was minimum. Though these societies were architecturally very sound, Harappan civilizations, we have seen the remains, but geologically they were not located on a stable habitation. With Britishers, Industrial Revolution came the concept of transporting water. This pumping machinery, invention of pumping machinery led to transportation of water for the first time. Water was somewhere, cities were planned somewhere else. And over the years, it became a costly affair. Now, in Himalayas, if you see, this is a beautiful Kasoli reservoirs built by Britishers in 18th, 19th century maybe. And this was Shimla town, based on concept of transportation of water for the first time. Cost of augmentation of water today for Shimla town, if you're planning for about 230 or 240 years, about 3,000 crores. It has to be transported from Satluj, pumped every year, a lot of electricity energies. Again, the small town Kasoli, again, if you want to augment it, 6 lakh liters means 18 crores rupees. Then came, you cannot pay, the consumer cannot pay so much money. Then what? The concept of subsidy. So this entire water is now subsidized. The irrigation public health is costing them, it is costing them 22 rupees, 50 paisa subsidy. They are selling it to 4 rupees to municipal corporation. Then again that municipal corporation is spending 6 crores for maintenance. Something like huge subsidy, subsidized water, concept of subsidized water, and nobody is getting water. So that is, industrial revolution not only brought pumping machinery, they also brought pollution. So this is Yamuna river, दिल्ली की है, यहाँ आप लोग देखा होगा सबने इसको. This is all pollution. And these rivers all over India have become sewerage canals also. चाहे वो गंगा ले लो, चाहे वो यमुना ले लो, चाहे कोई भी रिवर ले लो, चाहे अपने घर के जो स्ट्रीम्स, बुजुर्ग कहते थे यहाँ से हम पानी पीते हैं, लेकिन हम वहाँ पे सब गंदे हो गए हैं. एंड नाउ वी वांट वाटर. सो दैट इज द एपिथी, यू नो. All the blue waters in the last 60 years, we have turned them black. This is the case of Yamuna. It has tremendous water to feed entire Delhi, but we have turned these waters black. The question is, do we really want to care for water? If we are thinking for the future generations, time has come. Time has come that we should think of. Because droughts and famines cause migrations, and floods, if the water is in a flooding mode, then it will cause lots of devastation. This is a photograph of 2010 floods in Lake, causing 257 lives in a fraction of 5 minutes. This is the intensity. Now, climate change. I'll just talk briefly about all these things, but I can give 1 hour, 2 hours, how much time you want. In Himalayas, the glaciers are extinct. This is the reality, or on the verge of extinction. This is glacier very near to China border, and this is Khardungla glacier, lifeline of Leh. जब तक ये लेह में ये ग्लेशियर है, तब तक ग्रेविटी से पानी आ रहा है, नहीं तो वहाँ पे भी कॉस्ट ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्टेशन. So we are just, and now what are the repercussions? Now this is famous Kareena Kapoor's, everybody is famous for this, 3 Idiots, last shot. This lake is Pangong Lake. This 2/3 is in China. That straight stretch, this is in India. And this was not a lake. Our studies have shown, we have been drilling right across for the last almost 20 years now in the high Himalayas. This was not a lake. This was a river, a tributary of Shyok River, which again joins Siachen Glacier and then Siachen tributary and into the Indus. So this was not a lake. This became accidental because now there are no glaciers to feed the water, and the discharge has decreased so much that this has turned to be a lake. So all the hydropower projects are in bracket now, where the water is going to come in another, say, now you see the Khardungla, that is the amount of glaciers which we have in. Now again, this is a story of California. You see in 2011 and 2014. These are real pictures from the net when I was preparing for this. And this is what was there and this is what is here. So it is not only building smart cities. Smart cities mean smart water and geologically stable locations. So, in a nutshell, black waters need to be, if you are really planning smart cities, the first concept should be smart water. By smart water, what do you mean by smart water? Minimum energy for its transportation. So how can, पहले तो वहाँ पे उनके पास वो सिर्फ बेचारे रिवर्स होते थे या कुएं खोद देते थे. Now we have drilling rigs, groundwater proper monitoring, groundwater recharging, all this done scientifically with proper geologists operating on the drilling rigs. All the wells will function well. There will be no depletion of groundwater in the northern region. This is for guaranteed. We have been working in the last 20 years in Himalayas. Not even 1 centimeter of groundwater has depleted in our wells. So how can we turn black waters blue? ये जमुना आपने स्मार्ट सिटी बनानी है, पहले दिल्ली से शुरू करो. अपने वाटर बॉडीज जितनी भी हैं सारी ब्लैक वाटर्स ब्लू कर दो, स्मार्ट सिटी बन गई. बाकी सब लोग अपने खुश हो जाएंगे और खुशी में बाकी सारे काम अपने आप अच्छे होने शुरू हो जाएंगे. यमुना को ब्लू करो बस सबसे पहले. सीवरेज सिस्टम, रिसाइकलिंग, प्रॉपर वाटर हो. इंडस्ट्रीज जो नहीं चाहिए हमारे को, जो पोल्यूट कर रही है, काला पानी करने में जो भी काम योगदान दे रही है, उनको सबको बंद करो. वी डोंट नीड देम. ब्लू वाटर्स मीन्स पोर्टेबल वाटर. यमुना के किसी भी कोने में आप चले जाओ, वहाँ से पानी पी सको. मिनिमम ट्रांसपोर्टेशन मीन्स चीपर वाटर, बेटर हैबिटेशंस, वहाँ पे एग्रीकल्चर अच्छा होगा, नहीं तो उसी के आसपास आप मोस्ट ऑफ द एग्रीकल्चर वेजिटेबल्स विच विल बी गेटिंग विल बी फ्रॉम दोज, एंड ऑल द पेस्टिसाइड जितने भी वो हैं सब आपके शरीर में जा रहे हैं थ्रू दैट इंटेक. So we have to be very careful with the water bodies. I was in Stockholm in 2009 World Water Week giving this, and when I went there, उनकी जो rivers थी, मैंने कहा यार, wow, कहते you can drink from any part of this. But they also said that when industrial revolution was there, all their waters were black, and the entire generation worked hard not to allow any industry. It is a people movement now. This Yamuna, this Ganga river is not a government movement. वो कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे, उनके पास पता ही नहीं है. अगर आप देखोगे मैनचेस्टर की सारी यूनिवर्सिटी कानपुर में आ गई थी, वो सारी टेनरी इंडस्ट्री आ गई, उन्होंने तो गंगा को पोल्यूट करना था, हमारे रिलीजियस बिलीफ को पोल्यूट करना था. एक ये भी स्कूल ऑफ थॉट है कि उसने लाना था वहाँ से और वो सारा कचरा यहाँ पे लाके हमारे दे दिया, और वहाँ पे हमने टैनिंग इंडस्ट्री खोल दी सारी, और वो गायों को भी मारने लग पड़े और उनको भी दे दिया, और वो सारा का सारा गंगा को पोल्यूट कर दिया उन्होंने. पर उसके लिए हमने भी क्या किया, हम भी तो उसी को चल रहे हैं, अभी भी जूते उन्हीं के लिए बना रहे हैं, यमुना को गंगा को पोल्यूट कर रहे हैं. छोटी छोटी हैं, इसको बंद कर दो सबको, सब कुछ ठीक है, गंगा जैसे पहले थी. अब ये चेंज ग्राउंड वाटर इज द सोल्यूशन. अपने घरों के साथ कुएं खोदो जैसे खोदते थे पहले, अब थोड़े से अच्छी तरह खोदो और उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं रहेगी. चेंज इन वाटर हैबिट, रिड्यूस वाटर फुटप्रिंट्स, वो छोटी छोटी बातें हैं, जैसे पता ही है सबको, अपने कपड़े ज़्यादा मत बदलो, ये भी बहुत पैसे लेते हैं. टी शर्ट वगैरह भी एक एक कपड़ा एक साल चलाओ, जब तक नहीं फटते तब तक पहनो. फैशन के साथ मत चलो, पानी है ये भी, ये हैबिट्स बदलनी है अपनी. रिड्यूस वाटर फुटप्रिंट्स. तो ये सोल्यूशन क्या है यमुना के लिए? ये भी दिल्ली का एक पुरानी एक फोटोग्राफ इंटरनेट से मैंने ली. इतनी प्यारी नदी, इतना प्यारा पानी है, इतनी खूबसूरत बात कि जाने की जरूरत ही नहीं है, इसके पास पास ही घूमते रहो और पानी पीते रहो इसका. तो एफर्ट इस जनरेशन को ही लेना है. अभी से हमारे को शुरुआत करनी है स्मार्ट सिटी बनाने के लिए, और जितनी बार रिसाइकलिंग करेंगे उतना ज़्यादा पानी हमारे पास आएगा. छोटी छोटी बातें हैं, वही फूड वाला. और ये है फिर एक चीज़ और है, अब ये वाटर सिर्फ आप वी कैनॉट यूज वाटर जस्ट फॉर ड्रिंकिंग. अगर आपने एक बोरवेल किया है, यू कैन यूज इट एज एन एनर्जी सेवर फॉर योर सेल्फ ऑल्सो, फॉर योर होम ऑल्सो. दैट इज जियोथर्मल एक्सचेंज सिस्टम. यू नो what does it mean? अब क्या है कि मैक्सिमम यूटिलाइज ऑफ हर एनी पार्ट ऑफ बिल्डिंग यू कैन इंस्टॉल with some modification, geological modification, you can install a geothermal heat system. It works in a similar manner. जैसे आपका ये एयर कंडीशनिंग सिस्टम है, वो जियोथर्मल सिस्टम है, बट दैट इज 30 to 40% मोर एफिशिएंट दिस एयर कंडीशनिंग सिस्टम एनीवेयर, डन प्रॉपर्ली विद जियोलॉजिकल नॉलेज, और प्रॉपर इंस्टॉलर इसके मिल जाए आपको. तो दिस इज द फ्यूचर सिटीज विच कैन बी प्लान, एंड दिस हैज बीन प्रिपेयर्ड बाय ऑन वन ऑफ द डेटास कि जितने भी कूलिंग टावर्स है नाउ, एवरी air conditioning buildings require cooling towers, and it is estimated that 81 billion square feet of commercial building in US, they use about 2 trillion gallons of water. This can be saved if this energy is, if the mindset is changed. नहीं, हमारे को air conditioning नहीं लगाना है, हमारे को geo conditioning system लगाने हैं, बस इतनी सी बात है. And you save about $20 billion. Agni Yodgara, this is a concept which you have developed for Delhi, for Madras, for maybe Bombay. All these metropolitans require huge energy. The concept of Agni Yodgara is lava energy, dig deep borewells of, this is vertical tunneling, the concept has been developed as. So we use this for generation of power in future, and also jitna bhi सीवरेज वेस्ट आ रहा है आपका, उसको डंप कर दो, जितनी वो वेस्ट वाटर जाएगा उसमें उतना ज़्यादा एनर्जी आपको मिलेगा इन फ्यूचर. सो दिस इज वन एग्जांपल फॉर right to free sustainable water and energy for all by 2050. The concept is in pipeline. अब ग्रीन वाटर यूटिलाइजेशन कैसे आएगा कि मिनिमम ट्रांसपोर्टेशन ऑफ वाटर है, वो कैसे आएगा? ग्राउंड वाटर की यूटिलाइजेशन से. ग्राउंड वाटर इज नॉट डिप्लीटिंग, दिट्स मिथ. वो प्रॉपर ड्रिलिंग नहीं होती, प्रॉपर जैसे मेरे शरीर में खून बह रहा है, हर जगह खून नहीं आएगा. वो सुई ज़्यादा घुसोड़ने से मेरे को आई विल नॉट गेट ब्लड इफ आई पास मोर नीडल इनटू इट, यू नो, बट इट हैज़ टू बी डन प्रॉपरली. And I get blood after every 2 months, 3 months I can donate it also. Similarly, groundwater will never deplete in northern India because glaciers are there to feed the water. We are getting ample amount of rain. It is just कि यहाँ पे buildings ऐसी बन गई हैं, recharging बंद हो गई है, roads आप बन गई हैं, कहीं पे वो हो गया surface water. तो ये सब थोड़ी छोटी problems हैं जो address करके. So I'll just cite an example. of Tibetan settlement in this was the first project which took up in higher Himalayas when the Tibetans were thrown out from China following Chinese aggression in 1959. They settled in Leh. They were given a piece of land which was barren because all the water part was taken by the Ladakhis who were sitting there. Yeah. So groundwater solution was there, and in 1999, since 2000, they are getting about 24/7 water supply. Siachen troops, similar situation was there. They were melting ice. Now groundwater was the solution for them. They were getting in minus 40 degrees. We gave them, and it's almost like 14 years. And doing so, we entered into Guinness World and things like that. And this is what press has to say. And I'll wind up with this. Smart cities for me means smart water utilization. Thank you.
To save water before thinking of making smart cities. Thank you very much, sir. As the next speaker, I will now invite Mr. Jaijit Bhattacharya, who is a renowned expert of government transformation and partner KPMG. Mr. Bhattacharya, please. Round of applause for Mr. Bhattacharya.
Very inspiring presentation. Thank you for enlightening us on some of those nuances on water. I think it's very difficult to keep a presentation within 7 minutes, and I think all my former speakers in the panel have done a great job. And that's what we call as a smart talk for a smart city. Quickly going through what I would really like to cover today is a question of sustainable city. And what is a sustainable city? Obviously, one of the key issues is what was spoken by my preceding speaker, which is water. So a city with self-reliant and self-renewing economic activity with smallest ecological footprint and ensuring quality of life of all the stakeholders, and that's what a sustainable city is. In many cases, I'm also the convener for the Smart City Standards for Bureau of Indian Standards, and one of the points that came out was that can we ensure that a city has the smallest amount of energy footprint? Now one can obviously do that, one can stop doing everything, one can shut down this hotel and you'll have zero energy consumption, so you'll be absolutely sustainable. But that's not what we're looking at. What we're looking at is the smallest energy consumption for every rupee of economic activity that's happening. If you can do this conference with far lesser amount of energy, then that's smarter. But it's not smart not to meet up and not to do any economic activities, and that needs to be kept in mind. There are a whole bunch of challenges that are there when we're looking at sustainable cities. The need to grow, escape from poverty, aging infrastructure and uncertain future growth, fundamental doubts about market-led approaches that the current global financial crisis have engendered. Is the current economic structure really allowing a happy society to happen? How many of you have heard of the term Gini coefficient? Have you heard of the term Gini coefficient from an economic perspective? Basically, it's an economic term which measures the least amount of disparity in income levels. If you've got less disparity, you've got a more happier economy and a happier city. And obviously, the current market-led approaches is not letting us have a better Gini coefficient. We are going from bad to worse every year. Dependence on fossil fuel-powered vehicles, increasing democratization of decision-making as well as increasing awareness of social and economic rights among ordinary people, leading to things like what we had in the Middle East of people power coming up. We had the same thing happening in India with many of the people movements coming in. And there are also larger mega trends with development of sustainable energy. You'll be surprised to know that as of last month, in the last bids that came out in solar energy, the cost of solar has become less than the cost of grid energy. The solar energy has now become cheaper than coal-fired energy, than fossil fuel energy. And it's going to be a turning point. This is a watershed moment as of this month. This little metric that solar is cheaper than your conventional fuels is a turning point on how energy will be produced and consumed in the cities. Access to safe drinking water and sanitation, we've talked about it, green buildings, and revision to policies, laws, and regulations. Now, having said all of that, and you would have heard it umpteen number of times, whenever we talk about smart cities, you would have heard of all of these things. And therefore, we've got the example of Stockholm, we have the example of Toronto, we've got the example of many cities in the world which are quote unquote smart. These are some pictures I took from a city in the far western part of Nepal, which is the least developed part of Nepal. And Nepal itself is a least developed country, so this is the least developed part of a least developed country. So what do these pictures communicate? The first picture is obviously a solar panel, which costs about 25,000 Nepali rupiah, subsidized by the government, which is fine. But what would you do anywhere else? You would take the solar panel energy, you will pump it into a battery, then you will put electronics to pump it up to 220 volts and connect it to your power supply. What they've instead done, and you will see the next two pictures, is they have not used any electronics to pump it up to 220 volts. They've connected the 5 volt battery straight to the board in the television, so the television works directly from the battery. All the connections within the house is 5 volt. They're not putting a 220 volt connection at all. So there's no wastage of energy in converting the energy from 5 volts to 220 volts. And that's smart. Look at the next picture. What it shows is a biogas plant. Now it's mandatory in this city for every toilet to be connected to a biogas plant. So there is no multi-billion-dollar sewage system. There's no multi-billion-dollar grid. It's absolute pristine blue and ecosystem, absolutely clean environment. They've not spent billions of dollars for the grid, for electricity. They've not spent billions of dollars for the sewage system. All of it is getting treated at C2. Now, what can be smarter than this? Isn't this ecologically self-sustainable? If they need to scale up, they can put another panel and they don't need to be dependent on even their own hydel energy, which is coming from Nepal. And therefore, there are building blocks to put together what is a sustainable city. Promote sustainable urban development. And in the interest of time, I'm not going to go into the details of what a sustainable urban development would mean, but just keeping the bigger issue and bigger point of sustainable urban development in mind. Facilitate partnership among various actors. As my preceding speakers were saying, it's not just the government's duty and responsibility. It's for the people, for the civil society, for NGOs, for everybody to come together and to implement what we're talking about. If you keep your geyser on, what can the government do? If you don't switch off your lights, what will the government do? It's for us to support each other, to make sure that the city actually truly becomes a sustainable city and we don't waste water, energy, and so on. Involve public to bring in behavioral change and develop an integrated roadmap for urban development by identifying the key areas. And therefore, can we rate the cities in terms of bronze, silver, or gold, or as we are attempting to do in Bureau of Indian Standards, can we give them a 5-star rating like what we have in Bureau of Energy Efficiency? You have got the energy consumption ratings. You've got the 1-star air conditioners, you've got the 2-star air conditioners. Can we rate the cities accordingly based on how much energy they consume, based on how much water they consume, how much they recycle? And as of today, it's no more a science fiction that cities can recycle their entire water and live without importing water from outside. And it's possible, it's happened in smaller sectors. And therefore, the concept of cradle to cradle. So if we are disposing of our electronic goods, can we extract the gold, the silver, the various rare earth metals from the mobile phone and send them back for manufacturing? Can we recycle the entire water which is being used in the city and the entire sewage system and recycle it and send it back to the city? So every single thing that the city is throwing off, can it be recycled back and used? If you are throwing off garbage, can we have waste to energy creation? And obviously there are policy changes to be required. Let me just take a small example of the nuances involved. If you take the black sewage, it can obviously be converted into manure and fertilizer. And therefore that enables a revenue stream to come in, and therefore that enables PPP to come in, and therefore that enables somebody to come in and invest in the sewage system, and the government need not do it. But what happens at the end of the day is that fertilizer is competing against chemical fertilizer, which is highly subsidized by the government. and therefore the naturally created fertilizer coming through the sewage system can never compete with the chemical fertilizer. So obviously there are a whole bunch of policies and regulations and policy changes that are needed to enable what we are talking about. But all of it is possible. None of it is the realm of impossibility. As we talked about waste to energy, again, if you look at the conventional way of costing, waste to energy will turn out to be about 2 to 3 rupees more expensive than grid electricity. Again, that's happening because we are not considering the fact that if we don't do waste to energy conversion, there is huge amount of cost that is going into just processing that waste. You would have seen these mountains of dumps being put in and the crows and the birds flying around. What is the cost of that? Has anybody put the cost of that? And unless we put a cost of that, we can't really compare the cost of waste to energy electricity and the waste being managed independently. In the interest of time, I'll just move forward and come to my last slide. I was right in time. Well, the last slide is, we've talked about all other kinds of sustainability. What about economic sustainability? I just took a picture from Wikipedia on what a ghost town is. And last year we had, the city of Detroit came pretty close to becoming a ghost town. And we all know why. Because the core industry on which the city of Detroit was based on, which is automobiles, was going away. The General Motors and the big car companies of US was getting muscled out from the global automobile industry. And therefore entire Detroit was becoming a ghost city. Now imagine, for example, the city of Kanpur, which is taken as an example, with the tanneries being there, and tomorrow we come out with synthetic leather, which replaces all kinds of leather, or we come out with some other replacement of leather. What happens to the core industry of Kanpur, and therefore what happens to the city of Kanpur? It will become a ghost city. And we see that happening in our neighboring country of China again and again. Again, that's something I've picked up from Google, where are cities after cities which are either ghost cities, which is they became populated and then depopulated, or they never got populated to begin with. And therefore, economic sustainability becomes a very critical component of the entire conversation on sustainability. Thank you.
जो हमारे अगले स्पीकर हैं वो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ महाराष्ट्र से डायरेक्टर जनरल ऑफ वनमति श्री नवीन सोना साहब से मैं आग्रह करता हूं कि
everybody. So I'm just going to take you a little back into history, looking at GIS. The real effective GIS map was not a digital one, it was a very manual thing. When the cholera outbreak took over London, and John Snow actually started mapping out the spots where the actual infections happened. And then he realized the center point is actually one source of infection. It shows how geographical knowledge and geographical analysis cannot be done by any other means. Sometimes you have to look at the spatial, the spatial data or the spatial flow, and then only you will actually understand what's going on. So it's a question of visualization, and there's a lot of change management, and you will see how it's a strong case for urban planning. Now I take you again into history. This is my hometown. I belong to Chennai, so I know a lot of the places by heart. This is on the left is the map of Chennai. It was called Madras from 1909. So you see these huge water bodies. The water I have shown above as the long tank, and that's the same spot which I tried locating on Google Maps, and that's the same spot you see below. It's fully, there's no longer there. Then there used to be something called a Vyasarpadi tank. I was wondering, where's that tank? I tried to locate it, and you see that small green, it's a bog actually, it's a kind of a bog. That's what's left of it. And there used to be there's a road called Spur Tank Road. I grew up all my life there and never saw a tank. So I tried to locate that, and I realized the whole thing vanished by urban planning. So what is urban planning? I mean, are we looking at water sources? Are we looking at how we're using land? So there are so many verticals which could be put on GIS, and these are some listed areas. And there's a huge value chain which I will again come back to We can put so many layers of data into it. And as a district collector of Vardam, where the Sevagram ashram is there, we tried to kind of innovate in a little different way, which I'll want to present to you. So usually we look at GIS as a standalone thing. Somebody buys a GIS server and it's doing. So what we tried creating there is a complete platform. So we created a platform which is on the state data center, the centralized GIS server, and we just built apps. We built the application layer, and we built 3 of them, and we invited others to build more, and every department could build its own application and load it onto it. It's completely replicable, scalable, and it's quite cost effective. So we have got it hosted on the state data center, and we are actually integrating data from other sources like the urban data. And from the collectorate, we prepared urban planning, mining, and crime mapping as our own applications on it. So the issue of some of the speakers had mentioned how we don't even know where the data is. So we wanted to solve that problem. Let's put everything together in one place, let everybody access standardized data, clean data, geospatial data, and which is updated regularly by the authorities, and let everybody use it. Probably even the people could use it in the long run. So urban module, again, this is what we did. So we started with the basics, which is the land records. The most systems sit from the urban local bodies perspective. They look at this. Their starting part is property tax. But we started with the land parcels. Every single survey number was put on the GIS, geo-referenced. Then we built up the zone plan, the development plan on top of that, then the buildings, then the utilities, then the tax information, then we started putting the electrical data on top of it, and the limit, there's no limit. So you can actually have a complete data integration on a GIS platform, and you can have user creation with different rights. Maybe you can open it up even for public for tagging. So the idea is to keep changing the base map. We bought a latest map from NRSA Hyderabad, and we can keep updating, and we can see how the thing goes. I'll just show you screenshots of the application itself. In fact, I just got transferred out of it. It is in the last stages. So we have got like basic controls. I'll just run through this. We got different user levels, and we have got different. So this is the map. We've got every single property mapped out, and that's geo-referenced. And we could actually go down to every single property, and we will get complete data about its attributes. And of course, there are buffer tools, the standard GIS things we can actually see as a and we put this print option also in the sense like a standard option where if you suppose you're registering data, land registration has happened with, what's the north, south, east, west description of your property you're selling. So many frauds happen in land registration. Why can't government give a printable GIS based system for people to take a printout and say, this is what I'm selling, this is what I'm buying. So that's what we tried to build here. So that base map and everything was put on properties where data entries were put. So we got different kinds of assets built on top of it, query systems. Now, the thing what we wanted to do was to do actually crime mapping. Again, we had people, after the Nirbhaya incident and the Shakti Mills incident, we realized, abandoned buildings is a big security threat. Why can't we actually track it on GIS? Why can't we look at empty roads? Probably the crime happens because there are no street lights there. Probably the crime happens there because they're dead end. A new colony is coming up and there are only 2 houses. So the police patrol does not go to that location because there are only 2 houses. Crime happens there. So we tried to put crime mapping, and let me show you how we did it. So we took historical data for almost 5 years and we digitized the locations, and this is actually the kind of information for the entire district, the crime spots, we mapped out. And we said, okay, we'll have to put it in the user. The user is the constable, user is the sub-inspector who's on the crime spot. So we wanted to make a mobile applications, probably the first in the country. So we got a mobile application done, and then that actually fetches the live GIS information from the server. And then when the new crime occurs, the person can go and actually geotag that crime spot. And not only that, you know, there will be some drop downs where we can actually even put the FIR ID and upload photographs from the crime spot. And this could be done even offline, and it would be synchronized when the data connection is available. And then we have a web module also, which would actually add even video and further details of the crime. And we wanted to do the proximity analysis, hotspot analysis. This proximity analysis, like I want to understand how many crimes have occurred near, let's say, women's hostels or schools or religious places. So I can actually find out that. And time series, we got a slider, we can actually see what kind of temporal patterns are there. The web module. And then we even, I don't have the screenshot. So we got day of the week, the date, special events. Probably certain things happen only on religious days. So we've got calendars for marking special events and so on. And the very interesting part is we have tried to put modus operandi. As suppose the same kind of pattern of crimes are happening again and again. So it becomes a kind of a predictive analytics on where and what is going on. So this is a third module, which is not, you may think it's not very relevant to urban, but I just wanted to present to you nevertheless. Mining system is a very complex system, which has got boundaries, lease, there's a full value chain of selling, licenses, there is environmental data which could be uploaded. So we wanted to put again this on it's an action based thing. We send our patwaris onto the field, they can actually walk around the mining area and give the boundaries. While leasing it out, we do an accurate map, and if the mapping is mismatched, we know what's going on. This could be applied to so many other things. It could be building permissions and land use in general. So the other interesting part is of course complaint management. So anybody could take a picture, upload it into the system, and that would tag full workflow into going into the system and actually going and looking at it. On top of this, if you put simple sensors, suppose I have a mining or a factory, you know, we talked about pollution, water pollution. Why don't we, you know, very few pollution control boards have sensor networks. Why don't we monitor online, remotely, air pollution or water pollution in and around cities? That could be done using GIS. So your sensors could feed, create a data stream, and you can literally see the pollution map changing day by day on a GIS platform. So these are solutions which I think smart cities have a great opportunity. So I think it somewhere needs to be rethought. A lot of people think GIS, this is my last slide. So GIS is not only for information. I think there's a lot of action can be taken out of it. There's a lot of thoughtful planning could be done with GIS. A lot of interesting examples of open GIS platforms are there. You know, I forget this, the city internationally, they have just created the full platform, and the APIs are open. Anybody could create their own application and load it. You know, if I'm a foodie, I like a particular type of food, there will be an application which will just search your type of food. If I'm, you know, a small salesman looking for auto spare parts, that will actually, without even searching for anything, it's a subset of a subset. So these kind of open GIS platforms are coming up, uploading photographs, geotagging, and these are a lot of opportunities are there. And I personally have implemented these systems, and I find it's very powerful, and there's no limit to which GIS could be taken, and I think it will be a great base to build up everything else. So once again, I thank elets and my esteemed colleagues and all of the participants for listening to this patiently. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir, for putting up your perspective on GIS technology, and especially telling us about how you mapped the crime spots in Wardha. Thank you very much. The last speaker of this session, I invite Mr. Amol Sawant, Business Analyst of India Smart Grid Forum. Please.
Everybody, I know it's very late, and thanks to everybody for waiting and having patience. And this is last presentation maybe out of from this panel. I'm Amol from India Smart Grid Forum. We are a public-private partnership initiative of Ministry of Power. We incubated in 2012, and now we are big. These are our members. We have representation across value chain of power system, from public-private utilities, from regulators, and from ministries, and members from academia like IITs and IIMs also. Basically, our role is basically to help government in advisory and kind of advocacy nature in terms of smart grid policies in India. So when we were incubated, our role was very limited to make policies only, but now we are making DPRs and sustainable and feasibility study analysis for all sorts of power distribution companies, like private and public also. So which will be making a basic platform for smart grid for across India, which will be the future of India. As smart cities we are talking about, smart grid is the necessary thing, because without electricity, like sir has already pointed out, without water it's human can't function, like without electricity machines can't function, and we need both the things in parallel. So this is a smart grid vision and roadmap which was launched on 13th of August 2013. And this roadmap vision you can download from our website. This talks about how we envisage the vision of smart grid in India. So how many microgrids for next 30 years we need, and how many renewable energy generation we need, how much energy should be generated from renewable sources, so that we can have sustainable future. So this 175 gigawatt renewable energy, 100 gigawatts of solar, 60 gigawatt of wind, and 15 gigawatt from geothermal and other small hydro plants. This was emphasized in all these roadmaps, and then now we are putting in terms of different missions which are coming up: National Smart Grid Mission, IPDS, and Deen Dayal Upadhyay recently launched Gram Jyoti Yojana. These are missions which are going to envisage or kind of implement these all the missions we have, or the dreams we have seen in terms of renewable energy generation and smart grid in India. So basically, my today's topic is how we can leverage smart grid assets, which are the existing assets already in distribution companies, and distribution utilities already have GIS map and all SCADA DMS systems and all billing systems in place. So we can just leverage those assets to make cities smart. So one utility corridor we can create, and same utility corridor can be used for multiple utilities. So whatever available with electricity utility, we can leverage same assets for water utility, gas utility, telecommunication or internet channel, all sorts of utilities. And basically we can't just create use cases right now for smart cities, because we are not in position that we can afford create one small example of smart city and we can have study on that. But smart grid assets are ready already, so we can create use cases on smart grid assets, and we can multiply those use cases, as we can integrate parallel utilities of different domains, and we can create use cases which can give us a good picture of smart city, how the smart city will look like. In subsequent slide I will show you how to go forward. We are working on the smart city framework and maturity model. We call it as SCMM, smart city maturity model, which is just an extension of smart grid maturity model, in which we can map all today's assets as is condition assets. In smart grid I'm talking, we can map all assets, and we can envisage or we can plan our assets conditions for next 10 years, what type of assets I need, what type of capacity building I need in terms of human resources for dealing with the future load growth and all. So leveraging smart grid, as I was talking about, we already have the assets ready in terms of RAPDRP program. There were 1411 towns were digitalized, and GIS maps with utility electricity utility are available, so these maps can be leveraged for other utilities. Like gentlemen talk about the coordinates are not matching. Coordinates of electricity utility are not matching with the coordinates of water utility. So it's difficult to map the assets of water utility pipeline and gas utility pipeline and electricity overhead lines or underground lines. It's difficult to map all these coordinates. So one electricity utility map, or maybe other utility map, I'm not talking about only electricity map, we can leverage on other assets which are better assets. We can just leverage on those assets and reuse the assets to make our future smart. And also the billing system, OMS, outage management system, all this can be integrated, and we can have CCTV cameras integrated with the SCADA system, and which can monitor the electricity assets also, we can monitor the transportation assets also, which can monitor all other assets whichever required, wherever required. And this is just I need your focus for next 4 slides only. I will just make it very short. This is GIS plane, suppose. I'm talking about smart grid, how we can channelize our smart grid assets for smart cities. So there's a generation point. We all know that generation happens at the remote location. Now distributed generation we talk about, but the traditional generation happens at the remote location. Then there's transmission system, distribution system, and the consumer premises. This DER is distributed energy resources. Just we talk about solar integration and wind and all the other generations which happens at the consumption point. So this is our GIS map. Suppose we have zones like markets, households, industries and all. So we can just integrate on GIS map these all assets, and we can create one layer which talks about generation, transmission, distribution and consumer premises. And we have zones like market, household, market, or other offices and industries. And these are the layers: information communication layer, data management layer, application layer, and other governance layers. Like we can have integration of billing systems of government and all. And these are the domains which I was talking about. Not only electricity domain, this is gas domain, water domain, transportation domain and sewerage domain. These all domains we can integrate in one platform, and which we can call it as an interdependency. Because to pump my water to the buildings to rooftop, I need to have electricity. To have a meter reading on gas domain, this thing, I need to supply my I need to have supply to the meter. That's electricity required everywhere, and it's all interdependent. It's not silos we can simply work on, and we can just go for one domain and we can just forget about the other domains. So we need to integrate each and every domain, and this matrix, I'm just giving you the picture of. Don't try to look into the cells what is written in there. Just to concentrate on the rows and columns. What I'm talking about is a physical layer, there's social layer, there's a institutional layer, and there's an economical layer. 4 basic important infrastructure or layers we can talk about, and there's an interdependency on each other. So electricity grid have an interdependency on renewable, of course, gas also, as I was talking about, and other fuels also, and there's an energy efficiency. Of course, there's a big time dependency on energy efficiency. If we are not using our energy efficiently, we can't just talk about these physical infrastructures. So gas and other fuels and energy efficiency, everybody has a dependency. So this is about energy now. So the next domain is water. So potable water, I need to have electricity grid to pump my potable water. I need to have renewable energy integration at that particular location in the future perspective to have non-potable water, industrial water, to pump it, to have a to integrate into the water, river and all. So this kind of integration and interdependency has to be studied properly. Without that, if we just go on planning without studying the interdependence of the domains, we can't just have smart solutions, I'm saying. We can have solutions, but which may fail in future. So we need to study all the interdependencies. And this is a smart city maturity model we have tried to create. What we are trying to say here is level 0 will be as is situation where our city has right now condition. So level 1 can be the we can emphasize this much integration of renewable energy, this much integration from the water bodies, this much integration like GIS mapping, 100% GIS mapping. We can't just go for 100% one day. We need to plan. Level 0, I am 10% GIS map completed in my city. The level 2 can be after 3 years, can I have 30%, 40% GIS mapping completed. And likewise, we can go further, because as we take examples from different cities in the world, like Barcelona or Malaysia or Singapore, they just have not completed their smartness in day or two, or maybe not 1 or 2 years. They have taken 30 years to develop the whole smartness. So we also need to map all the assets, all the levels properly on day 1, and we can just go ahead day by day or maybe year by year to complete all our targets. And this is just an example of that. In terms of smart grid front, National Smart Grid Mission is going to launch. It's already got the approval from cabinet, and it's going to be launched soon. Maybe last week of August, we can expect from ministry side or Ministry of Power side that they will be launching this smart grid mission. And this is just a institutional framework. 930 crores of outlay, capital outlay is there in National Smart Grid Mission. Only for smart grid, I'm saying. This is just recently launched events in Integrated Power Development Programs, Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana, and Northeastern Regional Power System Improvement Programs. Every program has emphasized their visions, and 30 smart cities are going to be a part of this mission in terms of electrical assets, which will be integrating with all other utilities. It's not only silos electricity, electrical assets will get smartness. It will be a utility corridor for all other services. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sawant, for telling us about the smart grid. Here we conclude the session, and I request my team to get the mementos on stage. And I would request Mr. Naveen Sona, DG of Vanamati Government of Maharashtra, to present mementos to all the fellow panelists, please. Guys, please get the memento on stage. To start with, Mr. Prem Narayan, Director of Ministry of Railways, Government of India. Mr. P.S. Acharya, CEO of National Special Data Infrastructure, Government of India, Department of Science and Technology. Mr. Ritesh Arya, Director, Water and Geothermal Energy of International Sustainable Energy Organization. Can we call you a waterman also, sir? It was a very nice and good PPT from your side. And then Mr. Jaijit Bhattacharya, Government Transformation Expert and Partner of KPMG. Mr. Amol Sawant, Business Analyst of India Smart Grid Forum. I'll request Mr. Jaijit Bhattacharya to present a memento to our speaker from Maharashtra, Mr. Naveen Sona, DG Vanamati, Government of Maharashtra. Then I'll request for a quick group photo.